3 games down, 2 to go. Here in the penultimate day of the Rainbow Six North American League, Stage 2. Doey, your host here, along with Caliber Jacob and our guest, Pro Gamer Tommy. And you know what? We're about to get started with, you're waving to our people, that's right. We're about to get started talking about Parabellum versus TSM. But before we get there, let's go back and look at who's been eliminated so far. Because, you know, it's the second to last day. We must have some results. Nope, it's just Mirage so far.
That's
and
it?
no one is qualified.
I was eliminated?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, that was before the stage started. Sorry. Sorry.
You're getting your
You set yourself up. You set yourself up for that one.
I did. That was a twofer.
Jeez, man.
You were asking for that.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
And I thought the unemployment jokes were bad. Now Doe's getting in on
I
it.
couldn't help. He set himself
See,
up.
listen, he's fine to do it, but you're a goal too.
That was T-ball, man. Like, I couldn't miss. I couldn't miss. Let's take a look at the standings, because we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, that graphic we just saw, you know, no teams qualifying yet for Berlin, but it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon.
I am not happy. You guys promised me like people to be eliminated. It is the 4th game of the day. I'm expecting elimination today.
There's probably still a way in which it can happen from this game.
Is there? Maybe.
I'm more surprised about the fact that OXG still haven't qualified. Again, they needed 6 rounds in that game against SSG and still didn't find it. So, funnily enough, the way that they get to Berlin can actually still happen today, but it's dependent on 2 other games resulting in a certain number of points going to both Parabellum and the Sonics, and it's not something that they necessarily control. In this theoretical future, if the Sonics got a regulation victory, which already puts them in a pretty decent spot to qualify themselves, and Parabellum get an overtime win, that is the only way in which OXG do not qualify. You need the Sonics to get 3 points, you need Parabellum to get 2, and then suddenly that actually pushes OXG's chances back to tomorrow or to next week. So there is a very good chance that we see the Sonics qualify today, if nothing else, but the sure thing that we thought was gonna happen of OXG making it today is still hinges on a couple of other scorelines.
Yeah, it is something that we like to see, because you know what they say, the end of the season is either boring or really exciting, and I think it's getting exciting.
Watch Beast Coast still somehow make it, but it's literally a 0.0001% chance, I think, right now.
There, you can see them down there, right? About 0%. It's like 0.001. So it still exists, but it's extremely unlikely. But let's start talking about our match we're going to do. Parabellum versus TSM. Now, we were talking about this during the break, but Parabellum has never beaten TSM.
Yep, that is
if they were going to do it, this would be a good time to start.
It's not even a case of them not beating TSM. It's a matter of they've never won a map against TSM. Any series, whether it was SI, the SI quals the year after, anytime they've ever faced each other in the NAL, which was just last stage, there has not been a single time a Parabellum roster, regardless of composition, has defeated TSM in any competition. It's made more interesting by the fact that you could theorize Parabellum is a more put-together roster currently than TSM, because TSM's strengths on attack but weaknesses on defenses are something that Parabellum have a little bit tighter right now, but still, this is a very close race.
Yeah, but I will say that you have to give props to both teams before we get into specifics on each.
Sure.
Both of them have made huge improvements this stage. TSM, we've said it yesterday, and I'll say it again, from coming from stage 1 to stage 2, have been amazing. Parabellum picking up Gunner and Blaz, amazing. So, what will happen?
Well, here's the thing, too, is that TSM's one of those teams that it's at 0 map differential, right? So one of the best things they can do is win and win hard to get that number boosted a little bit. Let's talk about Parabellum in depth first, though. Like you just mentioned, Tommy, Parabellum is a team that made some big improvements this time around. They came into the stage adding Gunner and Blaz. They were meant to add some kill potential, some kill pressure to the team that maybe didn't exist as much as they wanted it to before. And we just heard Hot and Cold say that it is a Gunner's meta, and he's not just talking about the players, he's talking about running and gunning, clicking heads in general. These 2 additions for Parabellum have been fantastic at that.
To say, you know, you're not speaking facts, no, you're speaking hardcore facts, man. Gunner and Blaz. Gunner is plus 26 KD on his team.
Yeah.
Blaz, 4 kills, positive. So you have a 22 kill differential between the top player on PB and the second top player. So right now, Gunner and Blaz are the only 2 doing good. We need the rest of the team, well, actually, you know, hopefully the rest of the team can step up and help Gunnar, because right now, Gunnar needs them.
I mean, with the exception of that last Playday, it did feel as though Kool-Aid's performance also kind of sat about mid-tier for where the rest of the team has sat, like statistically in the NAL. But until that game yesterday, Kool-Aid suddenly, he's exploded now. That Mirage game gave him a fantastic scoreline overall, 11-1 with one of the highest overall ratings and KD differentials that we've seen in the league so far this year. And it's nice that we see guys who are traditionally on the back end, he'll be the one playing a Thermite, playing a Hibana, usually lurking someplace. If it's a mute, he's got the ability to also make these big roams elsewhere, but he's a nasty shot. He has one of the highest headshot percentages so far in the NAL, which is something that you don't very often see. And it's a case where I wish he was utilized in maybe a different way. If Penguin's the guy that is usually the one calling the shots, but somehow from a flex IGL position, it doesn't really feel as though it's working, what happens if we let a guy like Kool-Aid off the leash a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it also depends, because not a lot of people can perform well as like Kool-Aid can on his role. So that's why I think Penguin hasn't been transitioned into the hard support role, and that's why he IGLs more so from a flex role, which IGL traditionally used to be.
I mean, it's true, but I guess like Parabellum doesn't operate in the same way like a Mirage does. I don't think in the case where, even though there is one guy who's meant to be calling the shots all the time, it's still not happening from one person. It's not always one guy big braining trying to work around everyone. This should be a case where multiple people on this team are calling, right?
I will say this. The reason why Parabellum got better as well in callings is because of Gunnar. Gunnar, even though coming from T3, had an idea and strategy while calling.
Right.
So even though it was T3, T4, whatever you want to call it, he still had an idea. And I mean, there's a reason he's on Parabellum, and there's a reason why he's doing good. So.
He's providing intel, and they're acting off of it.
Yeah.
I do think a guy like Penguin should be the one to then take that and figure out how they need to push forward, especially in the late game.
And apply it.
Right, but I think that's almost the thing. Sometimes it comes down to those executes that we're a little bit confused about how they're meant to finish a round. So again, it's a case where, almost like X said, the longer a round goes, sometimes it doesn't really, that hinders Parabellum's ability to win a round if it goes on for a long time.
Yep. Yeah, that said, things starting to come together a little bit lately, so they got to keep it going if they want to have that shot to go to Berlin, because the team on the other side of the stage, TSM, would love to get back to a major again. They won SI earlier this year.
Yeah.
Stage 1 was a bit of a disaster, but a lot of players saying they hadn't quite adjusted to the new meta. They needed a break, frankly, but here they are back with a vengeance in stage number 2. That said, they are not a lock for Berlin by any stretch. They still have some work to do. They've looked better, but they haven't quite looked like the world beaters that they were earlier in 2022.
I will say, even though they don't look like how they were during Invite, it is way better than they were on stage 1. And like you can just see it like how it is.
Oh, Joe, you good?
Geo and Merc, both playing amazingly well, especially Geo. Plus 15 KD wise, plus 3 entry on Ace and Mute, top of the team. And then right below is Merc, plus 16, plus 4 entry, Finka Oryx. You just can't deny it. Merc had a little leap yesterday, as well as Achieved, as well as the rest of them. And this is the TSM that we would like to see. 4 people fragging out, while the hard support has to take a little bit back and start playing the bombs. And that's a typical hard support where you're usually negative in KD, but plants are positive.
Yeah.
They're having a really good performance this stage so far. If they were to get 3 points against Parabellum, it puts them at an 82% probability for qualifying, but that is not finalized. They then have to go forth and do the same thing and get 3 points, or maybe even 2 in their game on Playday 9. So it's not set in stone, even though they've had some massive strides so far this stage. Their job is not done. I love the fact that Geo is playing as well as he is. I love that Merc is kind of pioneering what it means to play Oryx more often than any other op on defense and really show what it means to be crazy on rotates. But as far as everything else goes for this TSM team, it's a matter of locking in this level of consistency long term, because we've seen it in like short bursts here and there, and with the exception of that one game where Gotcha had to sub in, it was. So it's a matter of keeping that through for the entire rest of for these last 2 games, and then when it comes time for Berlin, seeing if that same mentality that won them SI can also break out at another international event.
I just want to say this, even though Geo and Chala kind of like switching off and on roles on support, you got to show Geo the respect and the appraisal, because he used to be the best player in North America 3-4 years ago within the flex role. And then moving to hard support and him doing this is bringing out the best player in him.
That's right. Let's talk Bolo, too, because that's a player, of course, everybody wants to know when he's playing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's playing just a few minutes here, of
There
course.
you go.
But he's also a player that's been putting down some numbers, too. It's a bit of a rough start, but he's kind of started to bring it around. And they need him to put up those numbers if they're going to win and win big and improve that round differential as well.
Yeah, I will say this. Bolo last stage, he was pretty much bottom of the leaderboard in KD. This stage, I think he's getting a little bit better. He's not at where he wants to be, but he's getting there.
He had a monster game specifically yesterday against Space Station on Clubhouse that got them that dub in overtime, and he was a massive reason for why. We didn't really call his name very much. He hasn't had that many flashy plays, but he's been one of the most solid players on this team, catapulting them back towards that success. And you're 100% right. In stage 1, bottom of the scoreboard, he was minus 28, minus 12 on entry alone, and he was the guy playing Finker who you expect to do a little bit better there. We can call stage 1 a wash for TSM all we want, but as far as I'm concerned, I also kind of want to forget that stage 1 happened, if only because it's not indicative of the way that this team plays. We've already seen that. It's the same case with Sonics. Forget that it happened for TSM, because what they're doing right now is kind of rewriting the book about what it means to be a world champion in the modern age. They're still playing fast and heavy. They're still giving Gio the opportunity to do what he does. Even if it means they have to clutch very frequently, it's still indicative of how they play, giving themselves at least one opportunity to win. The clutch factor exists with all of the guys on this TSM roster to a point where if one of them is still alive, the chance for them to win the round is still there, even if it's dire odds.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. I think the big concern is that, they need not just to get to the major, but also those SI points that come along with it. Like, if they want to make the next invitational, they need to start racking up as many points as possible right now. You know?
And
can't wait any longer.
They didn't get any SI points, I don't think, from stage 1.
I don't believe so.
No, they did. They did. 10th place.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Did they? Yeah.
10th place is the only place you don't
10th
get.
place
Tenth
and
and
9th
ninth.
place.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Never
So
mind.
I'm not so sure, but
That's the difference.
One thing I'm sure about is that it's time to find out what map we're going to. The bands are in. Let's see where we're going to play this one next. See that final huddle from TSM taking place. First bands are in. That is Bank and Skyscraper.
So, I mean, just as a reminder, Parabellum have not won a single map against this TSM team at all. So you might want to go to a battleground you've not played before unless you're super confident in something different.
And they've played Chalet last stage and lost 4-7 to them.
That's true, and that's a map that Parabellum usually have always liked. I mean, they loved it back in CL, and then all of a sudden they come up to the NAL and realize they're not nearly as hot on it. Their Villa is something that has, I think, persisted over time. That's always been a map that Parabellum have liked, especially at a tier 2 level. So if they bring that out against TSM, who have yet to play at this stage, I believe. Nope, they played it once, but they lost it earlier. So that'll be interesting if we end up going there. As far as Parabellum is concerned, they are anti-Clubhouse, anti-Border, anti-Bank, all of which are now off the board. So when we get down to these last 3, it's an option between Chalet, Oregon, or Villa. So 2 maps that Parabellum historically have liked, one of which they haven't really liked so much this year, but it's always kind of been in their back pocket. They'll still ban it. They're not confident in it. TSM don't like Oregon, so we're back on this Villa play.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, Parabellum is a really good Villa team, especially when they're in T2. But you got to give appraisal to TSM. TSM is one of the best Villa teams. I don't care what their track record says. They are one of the best executing teams. I remember vividly when Hankel was on DZ at one point and he was left in a 1v5 against TSM. Instead of them pushing them one by one, all 4 of them stopped and he was in memo and one of them droned while all 4 of them pushed at the same time. It was like throwing food in a pile of ants. It was so amazing to watch.
Do you like that analogy? Does that?
That is an
work?
interesting analogy. I mean, so you're saying they took it apart very quickly over time, but each one did their part.
Yeah, exactly. Like 4 of them just like spread around him, and then the guy with the drone was the bread. Because they shot the drone and they all killed him.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought you meant like they picked him up and carried him away to their home later. It's
not to the hill.
I kind of like that. I'm still trying to digest it.
How about
digest?
getting tossed into a swimming pool of piranhas?
Piranhas?
I've never heard that word.
Piranhas. Piranhas.
Piranhas.
Piranhas?
You say piranhas,
Yo,
I
Bart,
say piranhas.
put a pie and then a piranha. Add a
tomato.
pie face to a piranha.
I don't like what's happening.
You say bolo, I say bulo. I say bolo now.
I say Boblo.
We're about it, Pablo. There you go. Well, let's get our predictions in for who is going to take this one. This one's a bit of a tough one to call. Our casters have the first obligation to decide, though. Blue, Stokes, have you made up your minds?
You know, though,
I have. It's Piranha.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure we get that right.
That wasn't
But
the question I was asking. That was not what I was interested in.
listen, though, it's the important one. Anyway, yeah, I still think this one's going to be close, especially considering that we're going to Villa. I agree with Tommy, though, in saying that despite while the recent results haven't looked great for TSM on Villa, I still think that they're a really good team. And I also think there's too much on the line for TSM for them to be willing to drop this one. So my vote's going to go to TSM for this matchup.
All right.
TSM, yeah, there's really no other way to put it. He kind of just took the words right out of my mouth. I think that coming into Villa here, it's definitely going to make things a little difficult for Parabellum. I always have a lot of faith in TSM, and they've been really warming up here in Stage 2. And really, I think they're back to form. So going to be an exciting match.
All reasonable takes, no doubt, except for the Piranha one. But we'll get back to that later. We'll get back to our casters
Just
as
accept
well
that you're wrong,
in
bro.
just a moment. Not important. Forget I brought it up. It's hard to pick against TSM, given that Parabellum has yet to win a map against them, isn't it?
It is, and I look at PB and think not only are TSM on the upswing, but so are PB, to a point where we wouldn't even be talking about them still being in major contention or calling them a dark horse on the pre-show if it wasn't applicable.
Yeah,
that said, I do like what Achieved said in the interview from yesterday, talking about taking more chances in a best-of-1 environment, feeling more comfortable in the way that you play, and it's TSM on Villa. When they've got the pressure on them, they don't have any reason to lose, nor have they lost to a point where I don't think they're going to win. So I'll give it to the boys in black and white. If you let me down, I swear. I don't know what I'll do, but I will swear. Off camera, preferably, for production's sake.
What a threat.
Listen.
Tommy, what do you got?
Listen, my prediction is going down the drain. But I'm not going to do it and say no and not vote for TSM. I'm voting for TSM. But listen, bro, I am very, very angry right now. Like, I am very, very angry. I'm about to cry like a little baby. Like, I need TSM to win.
Oh, no.
I need TSM to win. Listen, bro, Achieve, I want you to go crazy, bro. Like, crazy. like, wow.
This is turning into like a wrestling promotion at this point. I like it.
Are you cutting a promo? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Come on, TSM. Let's get it, brother.
Tell us about the cream of the crop now. But let's see what the coin has to say.
Vitamins or something.
Everybody's picking TSM so far. It's going to be heads Parabellum. It's going to be tails TSM.
So,
Coin, please say Parabellum. Coin, please pay.
it needs to pick Parabellum here.
Please, don't give me the curse. Please, please.
It says Parabellum.
Whoa! So we've had two straight games today that were completely on the board for one team and the other one won.
Right.
So now the curse isn't here. We've done it.
It's true.
Watch Twitter vote for
All right,
Parabellum.
GG, go next. TSM won.
I mean, obviously the fan vote is going to TSM. They will just click the TSM button no matter what it says.
True.
Yep. You could say, like, who's the worst team on planet Earth and be a TSM or something else. TSM fans will be like, ooh, TSM.
Oh, another known fact, by the way. TSM is one of the known teams that will pretty much probably get a 7-0 every now and then.
Pretty much probably get a 7-0
yeah,
every
That was
now and
the
then.
least committed
Pretty
I've
much
ever heard.
probably
Listen.
every
I got
now and
7-0
then.
many times by TSM.
How many negatives can you throw into a sentence?
Who? I'm about to fly away.
They maybe will not, might, probably could.
This is why you're unemployed
get a 7-0.
and homeless.
Got it.
Ooh,
Community poll. What are we going to talk about?
Irregardless, 0.73 KD.
Irregardless?
Yes.
I've lost control. What's our community poll? It is.
Is there any
Question
English
no one
left
asked.
here?
Who would win a banana eating competition, Kool-Aid or Bolo? Well,
Pojo will.
Should have been Pojo. Yeah, you should have put Pojo there.
yeah,
And
I mean, he
Bolo's
was
going to win because it's a TSM poll.
Yeah,
I want to zoom in on this real quick. Like, I just want to zoom in on this.
On what?
Just zoom in on this real quick.
Can we do that?
What does that even say?
It says, "Achieved is my prodigy."
Wait for the zoom in. We'll get there.
Achieved as your prodigy? What does that even mean?
Maybe.
Well, you taught him how to
I
nade.
taught him how to nade. You know
it's
what I
coming.
mean?
But only how to nade.
Only how to nade. Only how to
Oh.
nade.
Right.
Right?
Slow zoom in. Hold it steady.
Ooh,
Say.
This is such
ooh! Don't get my
Achieved
fingernails.
is my prodigy. I taught him how to nade. He's good at that.
And then guess what? It says, "Where's the die?" Never mind. I've tried so hard.
Where's the what?
The digest. I cut it off in half.
Oh.
We're
We're really calling him out. When was the last digest? After SI
Dude.
2020, I think?
I miss it, man.
Well, we all have a lot to digest.
Oh.
That's right. Going into this
That
next
joke.
break, don't go anywhere. And when we come back, a crucial match, much more serious than we maybe made it out to be, between Parabellum and TSM. Major hopes on the line. It's going to be great. We'll see you in just a few.
But if my man can't. Heading to a meeting worth $1 million with no briefcase. Just my mind in a free state. I got a plan through a vision, but it takes time. I'ma make mine. Summertime and then why? Summertime and then why? You know the drill by now. Summertime and then why? Get everything together, get the squad together, get the gang together. Summertime and then why? Summertime and then why? Started in the back office, now I run the front. Call the shots, make the deals, know the deal, know what's up. Too much for the books, then I put it in a tuck. Too much for the tuck, then I give it to my love. Once I make $1 million, man, $1 million won't be enough. Watch me fake the struggle while I get it off the hush. Now it's JetBlue miles, Rolex dials, frowns turn to smiles. Summertime and then why? Now as you come to an end. Summertime and then why? And the falls upon us. I want you to bring that energy summertime and then why? And run that thing back. Yeah. Until next year. Summertime and then why? Yeah. And why? Summertime and then why? Yeah. We gone.
Olo, and this is the NAL.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the NAL. It is time to get into our second to last matchup of the week. Like we said for a lot of our other ones, bound to be a close one. As you can see by the league standings, we still don't know who is going to the major, and we only have, what is it, like 6-7 games left to play in the entire stage. It's absolutely bonkers here at the NAL, but we are finally getting closer to locking in at least one or two teams here inside of this matchup here. It's going to be TSM going up against Parabellum. Parabellum has made some massive strides of their own inside of this stage, especially when compared to the first one. But TSM has done the exact same thing. Bit of an arduous stage one. They have bounced back truly to their old form and are looking to take one of the 4 spots heading into Berlin.
Yes, indeed. TSM especially coming back to form, like you were just mentioning, for Bolo out of all of them, the biggest holder of this title, as he's finally gotten back into the positive ways that we'd seen him before and having quite a bit of influence over these games for TSM. But the real player to talk about on TSM past Bolo bouncing back has got to be Geo and what he's been able to accomplish for stage 2. More inside of a flex role now. It's made it to where he's got access to some better weaponry and some other things along the lines. But I mean, the real thing to touch on is just how potent he has been across the board, whether it be his cost or his survival rating. It always seems like Geo's there to pick it up for TSM.
That's right, Geonidas has come back, and especially since we're going to be on Villa, expect him to be given a lot of free roaming capabilities. This is a map where if you look at historically at Siege, he is going absolutely crazy inside of a few situations here. So at least if I were on the leadership squad for TSM, this is a map where I would give him a little bit more aggressive freedom to play out his own game. We'll have to see, though, as that did not necessarily ring itself to be true when we saw TSM play against Exit. This is a point we need to bring up here as well. Yes, me and Tommy both think that TSM have a very fine Villa. The most recent results haven't actually looked that great. If we recall back to the game versus Exit, they lost that one 4-7. We're struggling a bit with their capability to get initial map control on the attacking side, so we'll have to see if they've gone back to the drawing board and worked on that for today's game versus PB. We're getting into it now, though, folks, so let's find out who takes the cake in our second to last matchup of the day.
It'll be a fun game, and really what I'm looking into is what's going to happen in this ban phase. TSM's already locked it in. I'm feeling a Finka here, Blue. Let's see what we get. Yes,
Wow.
we get the Finka, and there's a really, really good reason as to why I knew this was probably going to happen, and it's Gunner. You have to take this Finka away from Gunner. He's currently one of the best players in the entire region, second best at the current moment, actually, as he's a literal single decimal point past Grixer, rather, not Rexen, but Grixer for the Sonics at a 1.21 at the current moment, and also has the second most kills in the NAL at 8. 86. This is definitely going to put a damper on his Villa performance. And, you know, just for the sake of conversation, I thought that this would be fun too, because I just saw this stat. But did you know that the top 3 players currently in the NAL all prioritize using Finka on offense?
Wow, that's
Pretty
crazy.
interesting. Never would have guessed that one.
Never would have thought that in a million years. But obviously not going to be able to get the comfort pick of Finka this time around. She'll be knocked out along with a lot of our other power players, Azami being one of them, as well Valkyrie will be removed from play at the same time too. Been seeing her still stay pretty high in the ban pool, specifically for Villa. This is a map with a lot of prop clutter, a lot of even ceiling clutter as well, so there's a lot of places to hide those cameras, and it's just a bit too pesky to be dealing with, so it's going to get knocked out by TSM.
I think the biggest thing you could really talk about at the current moment is the fact that we have the Thatcher banned out, and also we have the Kaid in. But the good news about Villa is that there's not too much hatch play to go around where Kaid is going to make things just really complicated for the offense when they try to work their way in. So we'll see what Parabellum can possibly do with a majority of the defensive utility on the board. Obviously the Valcams, like Blue was talking about, going to be lacking, but past that, pretty plain Jane at the end of the day. Gonna have a full extension all the way over to the AVG side for TSM. It looks like they really want to hold on to the full breadth of this top floor, including the stairwell, as Bolo will apply his deployable shield accordingly.
We're just sitting back, waiting for a spawn peek opportunity. Not going to get it, though, so we'll quickly move away from that position. It looks like the large majority, if not everybody from Parabellum, ended up spawning on the north side of the map anyway, so wouldn't have been an opportunity even if we had players over there. So not going to be able to catch that happening. He'll more than likely fall back into a safer position afterwards here. Still going to see the extension into AVG, probably stay alive for a bit longer into the round until we get a better glimpse of what Parabellum's executing in towards. They'll start to change that over the next few moments. As you can see here, members of PB starting to work their way in through the windows surrounding the master bath and a bedroom. That'll cause an alert on the side of TSM, and they'll start to draw more attention to this area themselves.
It's a slow roll for Parabellum instead of the opening minute. Achieved the only one home right now inside of statue and trophy, but might not be known by Parabellum just yet. And actually, Chala is inside of astronomy at a second glance, so doesn't have to be too worried, at least about this far-reaching area, unless he gets frag grenaded right now, and it seems like that'll be fairly straightforward, and it will be. Blaz with a frag, an immediate tag of Chala. So it'll be our first death here on Villa. I'll put Parabellum ahead, at least for this moment. Achieved will continue to be able to hold on to Trophy, or rather Statuary, as it'll be Geo inside of Trophy. Some smokes down now, and Bolo with a missed frag on the Windows swing, as Geo will actually be the one to pick up Penguin.
Get ourselves back into color here now as well, with Geo continuing to wait for more challenges to come his direction here. Bola will now be able to spring into action from the top of the stairs, but Blaz trades it back out into his own team's favor. Kool-Aid also picking up another kill, putting PB back in control and nearly pushing the envelope that much further with a near second kill. Going out against, I believe, Merc in this scenario here. Not going to be able to make it happen, and the impact does make its mark against Blaz. I hope it brought down incredibly low. Plat now coming onto the board here for Kool-Aid. It won't be interrupted by that Nitro, but it will finish off Blaz. He's now down, but at the same time, the case is down, and we're locked into a 2v2 post plan.
Oh, could be a 2v1 pretty quick, and it will be. Kool-Aid maintaining movement, wants to make sure that he's not stuck in the mud inside of Statuary, and it's a beautiful move as he goes for bench and is able to take down the TSM member. It's up to Achieve now to try and clutch things out, but beautiful stuff from Parabellum inside of this post plant, abusing this bench rotation that was made earlier on. They'll be able to hold on to this for some time. Achieve tries to flick back with the SMG-11, but Kool-Aid has an SMG pistol of his own. It'll take him down with the bearing. Beautiful round there from Parabellum that they built up pretty early on, able to start applying pressure to a lot of TSM's on-site setup, and immediately getting Chala out of Astro, making it a fairly straightforward affair from that moment on.
So we're going to go rotate after this, since TSM does not feel the replay on the second floor and hold, nor do they feel a retreat to the AVG, which is generally where we see teams tend to start out. This is a site as well where TSM had a little bit more of a bumpier time when they played against Exit, so instead they're going to go downstairs into Kitchen, where things have been working out a bit better historically so far in the stage for the squad here. Not the greatest start to things for TSM, but they're looking to get a quick rebound. At the same time, Parabellum going to adjust their lineup accordingly, and probably going to see a few more repicks, considering they're now going to be going up against a downstairs take. The Twitch, for instance, on Blaz, going to get ditched from a Nomad. Lion is back in the fold here for Penguin to be able to isolate out the positions of any mobile members of TSM, and aside from that, a fairly standard lineup.
It should make it pretty easy for Parabellum to work the map the way that they want to. We are going to have some Electro Claws down low they might have to worry about, but Penguin's immediately shifting back over to the Twitch, and that could be simply because that they want to get rid of these Electro Claws. But as we talked about earlier, this could make it a little difficult because you can see Chala's got the mute here, so he's probably going to end up mute jamming a lot of the drone holes as well as doors and everything else in between that would allow Parabellum to sneak a Twitch drone in there and get rid of that Electro Claw that's actually downstairs inside of kitchen. So with that being said, PB have to find will and a way to work around this if they so choose to go for Master. Otherwise, they have to try and funnel to the concrete statue side or go over for Astro, which could be some easy kills for TSM depending on the situation, but it's going to take some time to get there first.
Although still sitting back, waiting for his first opportunity to make impact. Going to be pressed upon him relatively soon with PB wanting to leap in and take master control. Unfortunately, Bola will lose the element of surprise from his position here. It's going to be just thrown out not just once, but twice as well. With the drone working its way through the doors, kind of reconfirming his position and making it very, very hard for him to do anything from an aggressive standpoint here. So he'll still keep the position, thankfully, as he's got a lot of teammate support in the area achieved as well. Trying to go for a bit of a bold pre. Fires a bit short on the angle swings. Not going to be able to get the full damage out, but this is a powder keg being built up really on both sides here, and it's all up to Parabellum about when they want to light it, if they even want to light it. There's a lot of TSM members ready to fend off this aggression should they decide to go for it.
Kool-Aid's going to get the pick onto Achieved. It's going to be, I believe, the Astro player down. So Bolo and Merc, the only two left alive on the top floor. But Merc will be able to reinsert himself over towards the trophy and does still have impact to be able to try and reclaim Astro if he so chooses. And actually, speaking of which, Bolo might be the one to do so after Merc goes down to Blaz. It'll be an immediate trade out of the MX4 Storm. And Bolo looking for more, looking to show exactly why we say this man's name constantly and want to know when he's playing. Well, he's got a 2K for himself on the top floor, and he's stunted Parabellum. They couldn't get that triple wall earlier on, even though there was an angle in it. The Electro Claw made it to where Parabellum couldn't give themselves more angles to try and work with, and now TSM are decimating them as they try to clear the map.
Well, here, count his lucky stars. There's no one waiting for him at the bottom of laundry as well here. Usually that's an instant trade, but unfortunately Parabellum don't have the positions made up at that point in the rounds. They're not able to find him, and things continue, unfortunately, to fall apart past that point. So it's a very one-sided defense, all in the favor of TSM being built off of that great play from Bolo.
Absolutely. That top floor defense is really what did it for TSM there, and it's all due to the utility game. Yes, some amazing shots from a multitude of the TSM members, but, you know, if that wall isn't set up the way it is upstairs, then Parabellum more than likely have control of trophy and statuary. Lickety split. There's nothing else you're really going to do. That Electro Claw being downstairs and preventing any of the Parabellum utility from affecting it is what helped lock down that round. So the strategy, sound, and the gameplay truly influential from TSM. Now they've gotten themselves one round, but a long road ahead of us here for both of these teams, as it feels like both of these rounds so far have been pretty grueling. We're going to work our way into round 3, and it's bound to be an exciting one as we head into living room for the first time in quite some time.
See here how TSM will fare as they go for a second first floor hold. Once again, moving away from the kind of general expectation of site rotations, but giving us something new here, as we're also going to see an Oryx come out for Merc, which is not something we've generally tended to see out of TSM specifically. Obviously, we've gotten a bit more play from him in the past, but...
Actually, a little bit of a caveat to this. I do believe Merc actually has the most Oryx played this stage.
Okay,
yes, indeed. Cool. Yeah, and that was more or less what I wanted to point out, because we were talking about it on the analyst desk.
Yeah.
And this is a thing that Merc has been playing routinely. I mean, Oryx is a pretty interesting op when you look at him, just because the rotations and stuff that he can make, really not that great. You take damage for doing it, not something you're exactly looking to do in a game of Rainbow Six. But there is one big piece of his puzzle that is just amazing. It happens to be his passive and the fact that you can jump up hatches, and that makes it to where you're a whole different kind of beast on the roam in comparison to some other ops that you could put inside of a very similar position. And speaking of positions, Parabellum, they have the whole flank unit, the entire enchilada of this utility game moving its way through piano. Penguin actually going to go all the way downstairs. Could see an air jab set up just for the flank to make sure that nobody's going to come through red. But what is Gunner supposed to be doing here? Do you believe he still has all of his track stingers? Yes, indeed. So more than likely holding on to those just to guarantee that none of the TSM members have a good bead on Parabellum.
As time continues to tick down here, we still have that very, very slow potential duel being built up at the bottom of the red stairs position. Obviously, you can see Geo that might be able to support this a little bit, assuming that the wall is soft. I'm not sure if it is or not, though. I was not able to catch the best glimpse of that. Either way, Eska, a little bit closer to the front of the building, has already snuck his way into Library. He's going to be able to check out Art Vault as a result of that. And I mean, we just got a free plant being built up here for Parabellum. Where's the resistance? We don't see any of it coming from the top-down angles. Either there's a drop, but it's set up for Parabellum to stop exactly that. Chala goes down inside of that drop, and TSM are seemingly none the wiser to the fact that this plan even happened.
I mean, we're all so focused on what's going on Red Stairs and Parabellum. They've got the real info game, and it's what's going on inside of Library, which is absolutely nothing for the defense. Not a single person there to try and stop Parabellum from putting a plant down. No angles to support it either, and that's why this post plant's been so damn easy. It's going to be a free wash of the board for Parabellum as he'll take down TSM all by droning properly.
Nicely done here from Parabellum. Catches members of the squad with their pants down and a gaping hole in the strategy, and the fact that they had virtually zero Library defense at that point in the round, so they quite literally walk right in, even get free post-plant positioning because of the walk-in too, so an easy round ultimately for Parabellum since discovering that problem, but a big blunder from TSM to let it happen in the first place.
Yeah, definitely a weird one. I'm trying to mull over the operator lineup here for TSM. They just really didn't have that much denial for, you know, the downstairs area. You don't have anything like a yokai drone or anything you can try and work off of to potentially manipulate things from the top level. And that just really sucks for TSM because they don't have an answer for anything over on that end of Library. They have no information to know when it's going on initially. They have no answer for if a plant starts going down behind that bookshelf. It was just a very distraught moment for TSM. We'll more than likely won't see them going back to Library. For the remainder of this half, they'll probably stick to the very plain Jane site triangle that we usually see, which is that kitchen AVG and trophy statuary setup. And speaking of which, we're back in a trophy statuary with Mira along for the ride.
Mira indeed was allowed into play. We've seen her banned out a little bit today, but she's been able to evade the ban pull for this game just because of the way that the new meta has been shaking up. There's bigger priorities than her in the current state of play in the game, so we're going to see her knocked out, or rather left in this time around, and she's going to be utilized for this next upstairs hold coming in from TSM to deny a bit of that master pressure.
Yes, indeed, and this is a position that we've seen achieved play a numerous amount of times here for Master. The deployable shield on the Master bed, and then he likes to play right inside of this concrete door. He'll be able to prevent any of the drones that roll in as well. If he can land a shot, then he does with that very last one. Very nice achieved, able to fix things up, and able to deal some damage to Parabellum's drone game, but past that, though, he's really just planning to try and slow down Parabellum's take of the Master area and potentially get a kill if he can muster it. So stun grenade in, frag grenade out. Just looking to get rid of the deployable shield now, but it's going to be Chala to get rid of Blaz instead.
Chief now waiting for pick up the second kill, and he should be able to get it here. You can see Penguin trying to juke around the spray, but unfortunately he just sets himself up for his own death there, going for the premature hop-in. He'll go down. Another frag will come out from the side of TSM as they're looking to quickly correct on the mistakes from the third round here, already bringing Parabellum's execute down to just 2 players, and I believe both of them are members of the kind of downstairs clear here as well. Eska, I believe, to correct myself real quick, is going to be left alive upstairs, and now a very well-placed nade from Gunnar will at least take out a Chief. The second one could sing too. Gunnar, both of them locking in shots, and Holy being open, hopefully a bit more room for Eska to play out his own game in a few seconds.
Everybody's afraid of what lies in the depths, John, and it happens to be 2 frag grenades in the pocket of a Nook. Now it's a 2 versus 3, and strangely enough, this round is palatable for Parabellum. They can actually get this done, and the craziest thing is that Gunnar really has the kit for this. He can sneak around the whole map and avoid all of these cameras, so achieved as much as you want to try and sit and force your will on this camera, Gunnar can just immediately circumvent that. He can just go right around it or through it as long as he has his utility on. Now, this has slowed up the round quite a bit as Parabellum does not want to try and miss out on this clutch opportunity. Eska's worked his way up towards the triple wall here. He's got a soft panel next to him, but obviously is not going to want to breach into that. It'll be a telltale sign of what is going on, and it'll more than likely be gunned down at a moment's notice. He's awaiting Gunnar to rotate all the way across the map, but, well, with that being said, after Eska goes down to Geo, more than likely not going to be the round here for Gunnar. Unfortunate circumstances have befallen Parabellum, and this second round, or rather fourth, going to be TSM's second.
Respect to Gunnar as well as Eska for playing this out in the 2v4 as well as they could have, but ultimately the round was too far gone by the time it had reached the 2vx, so just no real hope for them to be able to bring it back despite the well-placed nades there when we still had 5 players up and standing for TSM. Either way, very solid defense from TSM, just kind of shutting down the early advances from Parabellum and not leaving them, despite the well-placed nades from Gunnar, with much of an opportunity to do anything inside of their clutch. So it's an easy site locked away for TSM. The game now tied once more, and they'll finally shift over to AVG for the first time in this entire game on the 5th round.
Absolutely. AVG, and usually the site that we see right off rip when it comes to Villa, not played until round 5. And not only that, TSM will not be bringing the Mira setup that we see pretty often when she is in play. So they'll be trying to lean on some other forms of denial past being able to see through that mirror. We'll have some nitro cells as well as some smoke babes coming out of Chala. Potential with some impacts as well from Bo if they so choose, but that could be a pretty interesting fold later on. We could see him even potentially get underneath the planter and open up a hole to remove them from play. Lots of different ways you can try and work this site overall from the defensive end. And speaking of which, it's exactly why TSM are going to throw themselves over towards the master side and try and slow down Parabellum's initial take.
So let's see here if TSM can once again spread themselves out and find themselves a much better hold as a result of that. We've already seen, though, on the downstairs living room hold how spreading the team out can potentially hurt the overall game plan for TSM, as unfortunately it led to a gaping hole in their library play that allowed Parabellum to waltz right in. Shouldn't be too much of a problem here, though. This is an extension that is played out much more commonly by defenders, so should be something the TSM is much more familiar with executing into. And obviously we still have some presence actually left behind to defend the entire site this time, so not expecting the events of round 3 to repeat themselves. Either way, Achieve now patiently waiting for the first bits of aggression to befall his position here, namely in the form of drones, so that he can knock that out. Force back a bit, so there's going to be a Twitch drone, I believe, assuming we've got Twitch on the lineup. We do. So the Twitch drone is going to spot him out, force him downstairs, and make him unable to prevent these bits of entry coming in from both Blaz and I think a few other members of the squad as well. Push through, knock out at least Bolo. Should be able to open up the rest of the clear here. Merc, though, challenging against the master push. He's able to get an exchange, and another one on top of that as he finds Eska as well. The repel still did him back, but it's going to be Blaz instead in the connector that's looking to wrangle this control back into the hands of Parabellum, and it'll work. Gunnar finds a kill, but Giannitis back in the fight as well. He rolls up the red stair, steals another kill out of the hands of PB, and keeps the numbers even.
You always got to be worried for a split second when somebody's hitting shots like that and they turn to their teammate. Oh my, Merc almost losing his head there if Gio so chose, but both of these players playing so very well, and Gio almost getting caught in the crossfire of a frag grenade down low again! Oh, this time it's Gunnar, still the same op though, it's the Nook that's able to deal a death blow to Gionitis, and now it's down to Merc. He's been good for 2, but he's got to get another 2 in order to maintain an advantage for TSM.
Merc just going to say silence a ghost right now, doesn't want to move an inch. Obviously hasn't been droned out from this position just yet. That drone should not have been able to see him unless his shoulder was peeked out for some reason. He as well, though, oh, he's only just now noticed it, but it's just in time as the peak was about to come out. May have very well saved his life as a result of spotting that drone, but now he'll be pinched from both sides. Can't survive. Penguin will knock him out, and PB gets the lead again at 3-2.
Super unfortunate stuff befalling TSM initially in that round with the way that the stun lock worked out over on the Astro stairs. No one having enough audio really to know that Blaz is flying in through the astronomy window, and he deals so much damage to Parabellum, or rather TSM early on for PB. Just complicating quite a few different things. And yeah, you know, it happens to all of us, Gunnar, so no worries about that. But still making good on his promise when it comes to the frag grenades from underneath. And Parabellum making good on their offensive half as they've guaranteed an at least split side.
Absolutely the case. Chance to push the envelope one step further and lock in a 4-2 attacking side Villa. Certainly alive and well here too. Going to see TSM trying to deny intel here to a pretty extent as they'll be putting the mutagenerator down directly next to the laundry door. I'm sure we'll have a few others sprinkled around here too as we'll be back on the kitchen hold for TSM.
I found that Electro Claw too. It's actually right above the bomb chassis on the arch there for dining. So if anybody at home wants to apply an Electro Claw that's pretty cheeky, that's how you get what Bolo is reinforcing. No, there it is, electrified, just like that. So, a little cheeky one there for you folks, and make sure to apply it in your ranked game so everybody can call you sweaty and that they hate you and that they wish that your elo was theirs, but instead, obviously, it's on the other foot. So, deployable shield here for the top floor, past the memes and everything else in between. Parabellum really want to get up to this top floor and start working for Master. They do have Asuka on the sledge, so they'll be really looking to try and use him to break up quite a bit of this flooring.
Away from that, things will go fairly quiet after the first 30 seconds have transpired. Mainly just Parabellum setting themselves up for the initial clear, but obviously not ready to pull the trigger on it just as of yet. Going to be continuing to wait out until they have appropriate intel, or they can find a play they can realistically make here. And it may very well fall to players like Achieved or Bolo that become that target for the initial execute here on PB's last attacking round. Drone's starting to flood in here. It's going to reveal the positions of these players soon, but as we have seen over the course of this half, TSM are not going to necessarily fear the revealing of their positions. They'll stick around for a little bit longer, ready to challenge the initial hop-ins. Here's going to be the issue, though. As they lose players, they cannot maintain these positions anymore because flanks become a very viable way to kill them. But the drone going to be thrown over here at Bolo. Even though Chala has gone down, Bolo stays stalwart in his position behind the wall and is going to be able to exchange the kill back against Blaz, knocking out the Nomad before they can put down any of those air jabs inside of the building, too. So that's a pretty big piece of utility now knocked out.
A huge piece from Parabellum removed, and Penguin now taking a lot of heat. Bolo is going to go down for the top floor, and that's going to give the man advantage over to Parabellum, but this timer could start eating at them depending on when they're able to transition this downstairs. They got the sludge in already, and he'll begin making it complicated to play inside of Dining. Achieve still holding on to Astro, and the remaining members of TSM locked into sight. G will be playing behind Tetris, has a beautiful shot on Gunner. Nitro sell out, won't take out the sledge, but Gunner's now dead. It's a 3 versus 3. Asuka can't find the angle onto the Tetris player as Gio. He somehow found the singular safe spot in the entire site, but now he's dead to Kool-Aid. Achieve trying to retake upstairs. He's found himself a sledge, but Asuka wins out the fight. Achieve is going to want that one back as he's going to lean it all onto Merc's shoulders, and he can't get the kill either. It's Penguin from the rear for Parabellum to win out their offensive side.
PB make it work in their favor, and this is despite TSM being set up in quite a few power positions where they could have brought the round back under their control, whether it was Gio playing on the interior position in the site or the last second flank that we were seeing rotate its way upstairs. Unfortunately, the members of TSM just not able to make their shots land in that scenario, which left far too many opportunities for PB to excel their own game forward open, and as a result, they take control of a fourth round. They now have the lead at 4-2 here, being able to isolate out one final defense. They get their own opportunity to jump on the defensive side here and win some more rounds.
All right, well, this is where the rubber meets the road. Parabellum now with the defensive end and arguably the better side, but that doesn't mean that TSM can't start getting things back into their own good graces. They only need 2 rounds to tie things up, and it all starts here with AVG. Parabellum's going to be leaning into the Mira setup that we were talking about previously. We actually have some reinforcements going on downstairs, so we'll have to see how that affects things when TSM attempts to clear this out later on. They are bringing quite a few frag grenades. They have 4 of them, as they'll have Gio on the Nomad, and their overall offensive lineup really looking like they want to try and prioritize Master side.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Here comes TSM for the first time on their attacking side now. No surprises on the operator lineup, very similar to what we were seeing out of PB, if not the exact same thing, with maybe a few stylistic changes at best. PB also bringing out a very similar flair to what we saw from TSM. We are going to see the Maestro come out for PB, though, which I didn't see TSM use too heavily. That's going to be equipped by Gunner, obviously inside of an AVG round, too, and you're going to want that all to be able to play out from the inside of Gun Vault or another power position.
Well, TSM's actually going to start setting things up over on the study side. Whenever you see the Nomad work her way in, you can always kind of bank on the fact that you could see a full clear, but not exactly just yet here from TSM. They could have seen that mirror setup and just called it back instead. The air jab's still amazing when it comes down to just preventing angles like just simply the study door from the top of main or things along those lines are always acceptable in a lot of different scenarios, so it's still going to be beneficial for TSM at the end of the day. Parabellum going drone hunting, but for Kool-Aid, he won't find too much. TSM are trying to drone out this setup as they've realized that the setup for Parabellum is decently complex, especially as it reaches farther over towards the master side with a thing like the mirror window and things along those lines. But for PB's sake, the majority of their forces are right around the site, and in fact, Gunner currently holding the top of red. Bolo and Merc trying to work their way through trophy and statuary. Merc right outside of the bore window, so they could press upon Gunner's location at a moment's notice.
Gunner ready to move up here and challenge some of these quick entries against him, but not going to be able to find the challenge this early on in the round. TSM still building up the confidence to move forward over towards Death's Door. So we aren't going to see an early duel come out from either one of these squads. Away from that, however, Gunner still keeps a very aggressive position alive just beyond the edge of that doorway, ready to immediately challenge should the opportunity present itself. Good drone denial coming in from deeper in the site. 2 means that they are not going to be aware of Gunner's position until they're able to potentially get another one a bit deeper into it. Bolo, though, will be the first to be found out on this round. Penguin ready for the challenge sent out against him. There's the peek from Gunner, but it's a whiff. He goes down to Merc. Thankfully, Penguin has the exchange, and he makes sure that Merc can't go any further out of this situation. Penguin, in the meanwhile, nearly being knocked out by a nade. We'll see if the second one finishes the deal for Achieved. It will, as we see Penguin's foot falling to the floor for a second there. He gets knocked out with the destruction, and that will be an advantage to PB as we go into the final 30 seconds of play.
What a cheeky setup with the barbed wire on the maps table, though, making it to where you have to have that singular angle to see through it and see Penguin in the first place. But obviously, since he's able to just sit there, he can sit right inside of it and see all of the other players around the area. The smoke out to try and prevent Geo. He's going to have to hightail it out of there before he dies, especially after the impact nade from Eska. I think TSM have finally realized just how bad this situation is. Geo finds a hole, Blast finds a kill. Actually, no, Kool-Aid rather finds the kill. It just wasn't immediate. The SMG-11 will down the player in study. And there's the remaining members of Parabellum to take it to TSM and push us to a 5-2 lead, and a pretty strong one at that. This is Parabellum playing up to their absolute best caliber.
Gonna echo your thoughts with regards to that map table setup there. Wasted a huge amount of quintessential time for TSM to actually get into the site and be able to clear it with a bit of a time bank cushion so that they could set themselves up for a post plan appropriately. That pretty much immediately removed any additional bank they would have had going into that site and away from that too. Even though, yeah, Gunner's position in the corner didn't play out well, Penguin got the immediate exchange, and we weren't really able to see any additional follow-up from TSM, so it still worked out brilliantly for PB as they now continue to lock in even more of a lead over TSM here at 5-2. Just 2 rounds to go now. Parabellum will be able to excel, more likely past TSM's position currently in 6th. We'll have to wait and see where exactly that leads them. As keep in mind, folks, we still have one more game to follow this as well. That quite honestly is probably going to change up our rankings as dramatically as this one will, given how close all of our teams are right now.
Absolutely. And speaking of changing things up, Bolo, Geo, and Merc all eyeing a different op. And Geo with the quite interesting one, at least initially, with the Blitz pick. But Blitz, really not the best op when it comes to trying to clear out a site like this. There's a lot of different ways you can sit pretty... Oh no, Blaz. That is probably one of the worst spots.
Geo doesn't even know, I don't think.
One of the worst spots to run through inside the first 15 seconds on any map is probably Mudroom on Villa. I'm not even joking. That's like immediate crossfire, like right off the first 10 seconds.
So. I don't think Geo managed to see the fact that he
probably doesn't even know that he did it. He has no idea until somebody draws the blood like stream there.
They're gonna have no idea that someone's 80 HP down right now on the side of PB. But either way, huge advantage to TSM once they figure it out. Blast as well was probably going to end up being one of the more aggressively leaned out players. Obviously, that's not really going to be the case anymore. He's still
say that.
Yeah, he's still going to try, but unless he gets an outright flank, his chances of coming out on top of any sort of even gunfight are slim to none right now.
Yeah, nice little gust of wind will take him out, huh? So he's working his way over for the pantry stairwell. Awkward here, to be honest with you. This positioning for Blaz is really make or break. It's a pretty big coin flip. It just really depends on how TSM drones this out. He's worked his way back in, but oh, this is gorgeous here. No info downstairs, and this door actually has some holes in it that he doesn't have to make himself. So Blaz can just occupy this angle, and I can almost guarantee you that not a single member of TSM is going to check this when they walk in kitchen, because this is something that you just get used to. I mean, there's going to be a couple holes in some doors.
Too.
Yeah, so there's really nothing to worry about. Achieved, he's looking back and forth. Oh, phone call. That's a big one there, but they might not be close enough. Bolo's actually taken a lot of heat, and there it is. Yeah, that's what I was saying. With the phone call even going out, with that door being there, it muffles things quite a bit just with how Siege audio works. So that hole's got to be be big enough, and then it's got to transfer through there. And also TSM is pretty far away from his location inside of Pantry there. So, I mean, given the circumstances, Parabellum, they're firing on all cylinders. I mean, they even have the stars aligning for him in a certain sense with, you know, plays like that.
Pretty sure playoff contentions are still alive and well for PB as well, so there's a lot
everybody
to fight for inside
Mirage.
of this. Yep, like you said, everybody except Mirage still has a chance. It might be a bleak chance, but it's a chance indeed here, as TSM's Bolo nearly is lost to the Toxic Bay, being placed just as they were ready to swing into Astro. This will give the PB members a few extra seconds to analyze the scenario. Potentially line up some flanks too. Oh
nice.
No, though. Kool-Aid has a belief that the downstairs part of the map is under their control, drops into it thinking he's going to be safe, only to walk directly into Achieved here. Another kill found by TSM as well. Geo finally able to take out a player fully as he knocks out Penguin, but responses from Gunnar are strong. He gets 2 trades, and now while Parabellum are heavily injured, they still have all of the angles needed to win out and shut down the execute from TSM as they forge yet another round. They're only 1 away now from getting the W finally against the world champions. If you guys remember, during the analysis desk, we talked about this. PB has yet to find a win versus TSM, so this would be a huge deal for them, not only in terms of their playoff contentions, but overall as a team to finally push past TSM and win a series against them.
Oh man, those player cams, John, that's what esports is about right there. You see the smile on Blaz's face. Man's never been able to touch a stage like he is right now, and he's just so pumped about it. 1 more round, he keeps saying to everybody on the bench, and that's all they need to seal the deal up against TSM, who Pojo has to have a conversation with at the current moment. They're lacking when it comes to the frag department, nothing really coming together, and the big thing is that the refrags aren't there. Parabellum has been able to bowl them over in a lot of different instances when it matters most as well. That's the biggest thing. It'll be like 1 minute and 15 seconds left, and all of a sudden Parabellum pick up 2 huge kills, and then TSM has to try and clutch it out near the tail end. That's not how you want these sides to be going, especially with the offense being able to control a decent amount of the pacing, especially once they get that foot in the door. So it's been fairly unfortunate for TSM, and now it looks like they'll have to try and attack a kitchen dining setup. This is potentially our last round between PB and TSM FTX. And speaking of TSM, Geonitis, back in what we saw earlier, the Blitz, but it wasn't locked in. We'll see if it actually goes through this time.
I have a pretty big feeling it's going to end up staying, just because of the fact that we saw it get switched to in the middle of the pause.
Pantry
okay.
rush?
No.
Pantry rush?
They got swapped out. Yeah. It's going to be a Dokkaebi instead. G always does this. There's like a few players keep doing this to us. Like
Disappointment is measurable.
They bait these crazy picks when it like makes sense to actually do it, and then they don't do it. And it's like, man, I'm starting to get frustrated by that. But yeah, no, obviously we're not going to see him use that. Is going to be switching over, I believe. It won't even end up on the original Switch either. He's going to end up on a Nomad at the end of the day. And we'll see Bolo switch over to a Twitch.
I mean, if you really want to talk to him, I mean, you live in Vegas, so you could just, roll on over there and have a very strong-worded conversation with Geo.
I know where he lives.
You do. I know where you sleep, Geo.
I actually don't.
Well, that's probably a good thing. I think Geo
I've been at most of the team houses, but I ended up losing the addresses so quickly I probably couldn't find my way back there if I tried.
Dude, the OXG house is a pretty good time. Had a pretty good time there when I was there. That was a long time ago, actually. Oh my goodness gracious. That was the Vegas Miner. Oh my gosh. That's when Rain Day was our host. What a guy, by the way. Amazing individual, and still doing some amazing things for esports as well, so shout out to him. But past that, this first opening minute really wasn't all that action-packed, folks. TSM has decided to start clearing through Study and try and get some control over AVG. Now, the big thing is, did they clear it correctly? Answer, no. Gunner's still here and behind the bar, and oh my god, Bolo, you're dead as right.
Surprised he didn't go for the melee kill there.
Dead as a doornail, and Gunner, yeah, just sit here. There's really nothing more to do. Just sit around, impact things out, be annoying, try and get another kill. I mean, you're probably gonna die. Yes, I swear to God, if he would have gotten out of there, John, I would have put the headset down and just left. There's no way that TSM can allow somebody to do that. You are one of the best teams in North America in the history of Rainbow Six, and you cannot allow something as simple as Gunner impacting out of the game's bar to let you not get that kill inside of Study. But big thing now for TSM, this timer really starting to eat at them as Gunner's eating up quite a bit of this.
I would have been curious to see if Gunner could extend that a little bit further if he went out onto like balcony or something, but either way, that's a topic for the analysis desk as Merc is going to be able to make another impact frag here against PB. They have the player advantage now, but can they work it into the site? That's going to become the big issue. Keep in mind, we're in a downstairs hold right now. They still need to make that transition. That's going to be the biggest part of this, is now we got Blaz directly contesting only for one, though, gets the confirmation on the Geo. There's a small opportunity for Blaz to escape and get rezzed by Penguin, but I don't think Penguin wants to take the opportunity on it, so he's going to stay nice and tucked away inside of the bathroom. Merc will get that confirmation in as well. Achieved will knock out the only remnant of the defense remaining downstairs. It's all up to Penguin hiding in the bathroom, and he'll get found out pretty quickly too. TSM get a very one-sided round in their favor, aside from the shenanigans with Gunner, of course, and that's going to start to make up the difference here as they try to come back.
Yeah, Gunner's got to be a little salty about that. Doing so much for them inside of that opening moment. The missed drone from TSM that bags Gunner the kill, but past that, almost able to make it out as well. So now TSM able to stave off elimination as Parabellum still need one round to close things out. TSM 6-3 at the current moment. They're going to be shifting things up for the Mott team now here. As Gio will be tossing that in. Not going to be having too much of a change up across the board, though. Just the two French ops coming in. Bolo was already on the Twitch previously. The SAS op of Sledge in, as well as Ace and Yana. So fairly straightforward affair when it comes to the take for an AVG site. And with that opportunity presented in front of them, it actually seems like TSM wants to try and shift some things up. The Ying will come in. We saw her banned earlier on Oregon, but obviously ready to be played here for Villa.
Garhook's going to work its way into the lineup as well onto Merc, so very curious to see what exactly TSM want to build up, whether it's more of an aggressive swing into 90, being supported by the Ying Candelas. We had obviously a Montaigne teased from Gio, but that's been re-picked away as they needed to keep the composition a bit more mobile, and they needed some anti-roam, so that's why they're going to bring the Nomad back into the fold one more time here to potentially bolster up the lineup a bit further. PB showing us very much the same thing we've been seeing out of them for most of this half so far, so they're looking to still lock in round number 7 here and now, what would be a huge victory for them. At a 7-3 upset against TSM. Some big points going on the board too that should surge them at minimum past TSM, as you can see at the top there. They have the same exact record right now, potentially into the top 4 as well.
Yes, indeed. First minute. TSM using this for most of their info game, seeing what's going on this base floor. Gio's going to apply an air jab to, I believe, the bottom of red, right up inside of the arch, so no one will be allowed to work their way towards piano any longer. TSM trying to set things up around the site for study. They'll have to deal with Eska around the main stairs in Kool-Aid that's playing on the bookshelf with his smoke nades. Be able to get rid of at least one of the drones here, but still plenty in the back pockets of TSM. Kool-Aid will continue to be able to take those down, but that doesn't mean that the offense has to propel themselves anywhere. In fact, they can just wait things out and see how Parabellum want to try and fix things up near the mid-round. TSM really hasn't pushed themselves in any one way, so still extremely malleable as of now.
Half the round gone, however, so time will start to get into the way of TSM's greater plans if they don't have the additional time to set up whatever they want to go for here. You can see TSM starting to build up the confidence to go for the swing on main stairs. Candelas will make impact here, force the player into the corner, but oh no! They're not going to see Kool-Aid hiding out directly in the corner. He'll be allowed to just pump one right into Bolo. Now he can get in the way of the stairs execute too. A huge blunder from TSM, and it might very well cost them the game. Chala is the last player left standing, and that's it. Kool-Aid for one more as PB get it done and lock in the regulation victory against the world champs.
Sometimes it's the little things in life, folks, like misdroning somebody in a corner before you go for your execute. That's exactly what we see from TSM. Parabellum getting one over on the Titans of North America, as they'll take it to the house. Blaz and Kool-Aid especially showing up today. 12-6 for Blaz, and 11 kills on the board for our smoke main.
The hopes stay alive in the playoffs for PB, but now we have to ask the question of where they sit for TSM. The stage has been so close, and a win like that is certainly going to shake things up in terms of who our top 4 will eventually be. Either way, a massive win here today for the Parabellum squad, and for TSM, another hard look needs to be taken. This is the second loss on Villa in a row after dropping it 4-7 to Xset just about a week or two ago.
Yeah, and really completely different showcases of what could be going on with TSM. This one a little misled when it comes to some of their offensive plans, and the last one, Xset, being able to get quite a few clutches that we saw out of that unit. But past that, that's going to do it here for Parabellum versus TSM. We got one more game here to go yet again today, folks. And of course, we all know you want to watch it. It's going to be Mirage that is going to be deciding who will lock in initially officially for Germany. So do not touch that browser, as we have an analyst desk just after this break.
Case. I wake up with pace of time and never go away. Wonder why I balance to my knees when I pray. In my city gritty, gotta keep it on your waist. Or you might be a victim, they'll find you DOA. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you.
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League Analyst Desk. Doa, Tommy, Jacob with you, and over in Vegas, we have from Team Parabellum, it is Eska. That's right, getting the win today over TSM, pretty huge. I mean, Parabellum has been making strides all through stage 2. I feel like there's been some ups and downs, but beating TSM, beating the reigning world champions, and if I'm correct, beating them for the first time, it couldn't have come at a better time, huh?
Yeah, for sure. It feels good, especially after that loss in the SI qualifier last January when they eventually win the SI, but it feels good to come back and beat them on LAN.
Yeah? How's it been, Eska? Long time no see.
Yeah. Been a couple months.
Yeah, it's been. I got a quick question, man. Obviously, lately or during the stage, you haven't been having your best performance, but recently you've been, bringing it back up. And I know on Twitter you've said that after a team talk, after you guys' lost one of the losses last week, has helped you. What other things have you been doing, excluding TDM, and helped you to get better?
I do play a lot of TDM, but no, it's just focusing on helping each other more, listening to teammates and what they need, and also asking even me, just asking what I need to be able to perform better. So basically, we just we're making sure that our cohesion is way better as a team, and I think it's showing. It's showing.
Good, good.
Is it crazy having a guy like Gunnar who didn't have any Pro League experience prior to now showing up on the team and providing this much impact? And how has it been so far with Smitatius behind you guys?
Smitatius brings a lot of info and Like his analyst is really good, and like just having Gunnar on the team, his vibes, like you cannot ask for better vibes on the team. Like always like good like constructive criticism like to help the team be better, and like he's just performing so well. He's like so confident in his gunfights, and like he wins a lot of them and like opens round for us. And we saw it today, like with the nades he hit, like kind of blind, but like they're hitting, so we're just taking it and opens around for us.
So at this point, one more question before we let you go. At this point, looking ahead to possibly going to Berlin, I mean, you're doing everything you can. You know, obviously getting the wins will, especially in regulation, get you the most points to get towards that. But looking ahead to Berlin, if you make it, what do you think is going to be Parabellum's biggest asset in terms of going deep in the major?
I mean, I think playing like against like North America, we're like pretty good against a lot of different styles. Just from like in the past, I mean, we played at like 6 Invitational a year ago, and we did pretty well. And we love playing against international teams. Like I don't know, we're able like to adapt very well and like fit their play style to counter them. So I think if we make it to Berlin, we're gonna make a lot of those.
All right, awesome. Well, best of luck doing that. Good luck with your game next week, and thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too.
So.
All right, well, there you go. Eska from Parabellum helping his team get the big 7-3 victory over TSM. You know, the funny thing is we were watching that backstage, right? And, you know, TSM wins that game, wins that round after Parabellum gets up to round 6, and we're like, oh, here we go again. It's going to be another one going to OT. It's been happening all day, but no, the very next round, Parabellum shuts the door on TSM. Their major hopes are not gone yet, but they are certainly diminished by a loss like this.
Did they have to make this any closer than it already was? We finally have
I
a team
love it.
qualifying, by the way.
I love it.
We got that, but we're still at a point where TSM's future is uncertain. Parabellum has suddenly shot back up into second place with this victory, by the way. Nothing about this is certain anymore. We finally have something happening, but it took until game 4 on this day, with only 5 games remaining in this stage, for us to get a definitive answer on elimination or qualification. If you're TSM, this is one of the most disappointing results you're going to have all year.
Honestly, Jake, I'm going to be honest with you. You sound more angry than I am.
I am, because not only is this an upturn for a TSM team that had problems the last stage, that looked like they were doing considerably better. I wanted the only time that they suffered a loss this bad to be when they weren't playing with their whole team. But now, you have everybody completely healthy, and you'll lose to PB, and you'll lose by 4 rounds?
Hey, Parabellum coming up. What can you say? What can you say? There were some mistakes there, but PB playing it pretty great. But by winning in regulation, Parabellum has also helped out someone else. In fact, they have secured Oxygen, their spot in Berlin. We have our first qualified team from NA going to the major. It is going to be none other than Team Oxygen. And it's going to be cool to see because Oxygen looks so strong in Charlotte right up until they ran into Astralis in the semifinals. You know they want to come back. They want to prove that they can get a bit farther than that, not crumple a bit like they did in Charlotte towards the end. And I got to say, with the way this Oxygen team is playing, they've got a good shot to do it.
You know, Dream qualified. Let's just get a Dream clap going on real quick. You know, just a Dream clap.
We'll get that. Good job, Dream.
But I will say, I'm happy for Dream as well. That's the second major being on this team, 2 stages in a row.
Where he wasn't on Mirage.
Yep, exactly. Wow. I didn't even need to do it. Sheesh.
No, I'm not even going to touch that one. Well, there you go. Speaking of Mirage, they are still our only team eliminated from major qualification possibilities. Meanwhile, Oxygen, again, our first team qualified. We thought coming into today we might have probably 2 teams qualify at the end of the day. We may only have this one. We'll see what happens in our next game, but it could just be it. It could be just an epic final day of stage 2 to decide a lot of teams going to Berlin.
It totally could. However, we now have something a little bit more definitive, because at the beginning of the day, you might have noticed that the Sonics only had like a 99% or so chance, and it was dependent on how a couple of other games went. Now, a little bit different. If the Sonics were to win in regulation, regardless of what the actual score is, then they'll qualify. They will also go. We will have 2 teams locked in, which I did say at the beginning of the day I thought we were going to have 2 times, so don't get mad at me again, but we may very well also see the Sonics.
You said the same thing.
Yeah.
No, dude, I said, hey, at minimum 2 today, and I thought that was wishful thinking because I honestly figured 3, but we're not seeing that.
You just
Sonics can still do it if this game upcoming actually goes their way. We'll see.
You just sound more angry than I am.
I'm angry at TSM. I'm not angry at anybody else but TSM.
It sounds more like passion to me. It sounds like passion for esports.
I'm upset. I don't look at this
mind.
TSM team as having that many problems. And then a team like Parabellum takes them to task and picks them apart. That spells a lot more problems that maybe we behind the scenes don't fully understand. You gotta fix it if you're gonna go to Berlin. If this TSM team were to go to Berlin, who's to say that they don't fall apart again?
True enough. Well, if you'd like to talk a little bit more about that kind of topic, we've got some rounds to check out from that last map. Round number 5 is the first one we're going to look at. And I think one of the best things Parabellum did in this last series was show poise. They showed a methodical approach to how they were playing, even in high-pressure situations. Round 5 was an example of that. Could have gone for the plant, went for the pinch instead, went for the guaranteed win.
Yeah, as you can see right here, Merc's in a 2v1. He's playing 90. You can see Gunner right now underneath, but he's going all the way up blue. Penguin is just waiting. Gunner actually, instead of going up blue, goes up red. Penguin waiting, sets up a drone for bench, which is right there top red. Gunner, instead of pushing the guy 90, he's droning as well, or he's pushing up on the drone. The drone here gets shot in about a couple seconds. Gunner just sitting on red. Penguin getting his drone set up. Gunner now in sight. Penguin, notice the drones get shot in a couple seconds. Shot, instead of rotating around to go through wrist table, Gunner just pushed through sight, and they're just like, hey, let's pinch him, let's kill him, and let's end the round. You gotta show an amazing round to Parabellum for doing that, because instead of going for the plant, they went for the kill, instead of taking a 1v1 while the plant.
Yep, it's the right call, and I also think a Parabellum team still would have been a little bit more prone to face checks at times like this. If it's an unwarranted swing or a time where maybe they get a little bit too kill hungry, but something about the way that they play with a little bit more composure here said, let's take the safe bet. Let's go for the play where we actually coordinate on the same guy, unless, for some reason Merc were to get aggressive and swing out of 90 and do something crazy.
Right.
He didn't. He stays isolated in the same position, and even by the time Nook comes out, tries to swing him, ducks back in, it looks like he might even be able to kill Penguin. Penguin's just better in that moment. So that kind of coordination is the exact thing we need to see more from Parabellum. And if they do that in their matchup on Playday 9, maybe there's a chance they go to their first major ever.
Yeah, quite possible. They looked good in the final round of the game as well. Obviously, that's the round that won them the game. But there was another side to it too. TSM, despite their progress that they've made in stage number 2 as far as looking more like that team that lifted the hammer at SI earlier this year, the mistakes are still present and it costs them. In this case, it costs them the map. Let's check that one out.
This one's a problem. This is a real problem, I think, overall. Not only because we've demonstrated TSM having some droning problems in the past, but I look at this and think, how often is this exact mistake going to rear its ugly head yet again? So all of these are pretty standard defensive positions for PB. It's the Eska back down on the stairs. Kool-Aid has a quick rotate to get back behind bar. Gunner's the one playing inside 90. And everyone on TSM is trying to take a different part of this attack one by one. This usually has the tendency to work, but you probably need to double up, especially on something like a main stairs push, which is why there's so much smoke being tossed at it. So now watch as Geo and Achieve both try to make this push all the way up top. Eska is going to look to make this stop solo if he can, but the push is still going to work. Eska is still prone. That spot is something you have to calculate for, but look at how many kills happen just on the main stairs push, and you still have one down in that spot. Kool-Aid gets 3 after rotating back around with the Mossberg. He's still playing up top, finds the 4th on Shala. That's just the kind of power you have when you make a calculated swing, not a reckless one. We've talked about PB being the team to do that. Not the case here.
While being blind.
While being blinded. He just kind of presses mouse 1 and hopes for the best, but it still works.
I mean, he kind of put himself up in a position to know where the person would be, right? Once it wore off, he had the shot lined up pretty much already, and that was a shot that gave Parabellum a much-needed win to possibly help them go to their first major, like we were talking about a little bit ago. But our day's not done yet. We got one last map to go here at the Rainbow Six North American League. It's going to be Sonics taking on Mirage. Can Sonics be the second team to qualify for Berlin? We'll find out when we return in just a few.